the idea of allowing a form of bypassing responsibility. I did a video a few days ago around the idea of allowing. I myself have allowed certain elements of my life to unfold, and I am actually following my own astrological blueprint. But it got me pondering, if we were to allow for everything in our lives to unfold as our astrological blueprint would dictate, where would that leave us if we never actually took control of any aspect of our lives?
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy, and silently, it could build and build until you finally see, whoa, it's taking over, damn no closure, moving closer. No exposure, I just wanna be a loner. Some can't stay sober, looking over all their shoulders, like moving boulders just to get out of the home. It sucks, I've had enough, I don't wanna feel the stuck under the rug, all my problems that I shove. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere.
It is likely to no one's surprise that there is a lot of fear being propagated in the media. Actually, this has never been new, and why, for a number of years, I stopped watching mainstream, instead choosing to fill my boots yearning for distraction to social media, notably Facebook at the time. 2020, however, was a pinnacle for fear peddling, and I found my boots now being stuck in the thick mud of fear pushing on all the social media platforms, including the one I present this to you today. A weaponization of one of our most primal emotions being used in spaces where we spend most of our time. You see, there are two main areas to which intrigue the mind of people: sex and fear. Both sell. But there seems to be an addiction to one moreover than the other. Both these emotions are primal, but fear disempowers. So why are we so attracted to it? My thoughts drift to ponder about animals in the wild when I think about fear being a natural instinct for survival. We have the fight or flight instinct, and then we have the one that is much less talked about, the freeze instinct, known as tonic immobility. The above are brought about when we have perceived threats to our survival. In this example, I am referring to when we make decisions based on our own personal life path. Let me draw on an example where I have initiated the flight response. 2020, my life was turned upside down and I sold everything, up sticks, and moved to a new area. I did this through fear of perceived agendas, or not so perceived as the case may be. I could have stayed and fought, but I chose to flee. Or I could have been in a mindset which I didn't know which decision to make and froze. All bring both positive and negative effects. Fight, be a winner or a loser. Flight, you could outrun the predator but be eventually caught. Freeze, sit and do nothing and the bullet could miss or hit. Of course, we are speaking metaphorically here, but fear is a spell, and spells have very real consequences. We enter this realm as the fool, and our task here is to figure it the F out. It's getting hot out there, and it's not because the sun is glaring down on us if you are, in particular, in the UK. Or because I'm going through the menopause. Far from it. In fact, the blanket of grey we are subjected to each and every day are adding to the oppressive energies that are becoming more and more prevalent. I'd like to think it seems more prevalent because more people have the ability to talk about it via social media, but I do think it's getting worse. I think the struggles of people in the West are rising. Videos popping up of young people rushing to leave the oppression of the UK, people living in cars and vans, a cost of living crisis where it's cheaper to eat a sick diet, and the threat of being forced off the roads with extortionate car running costs. But wait! I find myself heading back to what I was saying a few years ago when I was labelled a conspiracy theorist, yet here we are. But this discussion isn't about what's going on in the world. It's a question of allowing versus taking things into your own hands. A question I'm asking because it is intense out there and people are having to make decisions about their futures. Both allowing versus taking control, it would seem, have consequences. Could it be that no matter what decision you make, you will be forced onto the path you are supposed to be on? In occult circles, this is the role of the Qliphoth, a force representing the negative energy of the Kabbalah tree of life. For those that don't know, Qliphothic work is working deeply on your shadow and with negative entities, i.e. demons. If you are not walking the path that has been assigned to you, then these negative energies will work to get you on your path, leaving a trail of destruction, but ultimately for your benefit. It's said you have to initiate into the Qliphoth. However, I see destruction unfolding just by the very nature of the astrological energies and the shifts in the cosmos. So this is forcing me to ask the question, are we living within the Qliphoth at the moment? To be more concise, the Qliphoth, meaning husks or shells in Kabbalistic mysticism, represent the dark, chaotic and impure forces that oppose the divine structure of existence. They are often seen as the inverse of the Sephiroth, the sacred emanations of the Tree of Life, and are associated with corruption, imbalance, and the remnants of a creation that did not receive divine light. If one were to interpret their presence in the world today, it could be seen in the forms of entropy, moral decay, destructive tendencies, and the distortions of wisdom and power. Some esoteric traditions view the Qliphoth as an ever-present force, not necessarily evil, but rather an aspect of reality that must be acknowledged and transcended. In this sense, it could be said that the Qliphoth is active wherever chaos, deception or disharmony take hold, manifesting in societal upheaval, personal struggles, or even within the shadow aspects of human consciousness. However, the Qliphoth is also a path of initiation in some occult traditions, where one confronts and integrates the shadow itself. Whether active in a literal or metaphorical sense, engaging with such forces requires awareness, balance, and a strong inner foundation. It is also said we are born out of chaos. To be born out of chaos in the cosmos is to emerge from the raw, untamed forces of existence, where disorder, destruction, and creation are entangled. It speaks to an origin not from order or careful design, but from turbulence, from the violent collisions of energy, matter, and time. In mythology and philosophy, chaos often represents the primordial state before structure and meaning. To be born from it suggests an inherent connection to the unpredictable, boundless potential, and the relentless forces of change. It means carrying within oneself the echoes of cosmic upheaval, the fire of exploding stars, the silent vastness of the void, the ceaseless motion of galaxies. It can also symbolize resilience, adaptation, and the ability to forge meaning from disorder. Those born from chaos do not fear uncertainty, they thrive in it, shaping and reshaping their reality like the universe itself, forever expanding, shifting, and evolving. Nothing stays the same, and to evolve, to be rebirthed, is painful. Is what the world experienced with the many upheavals from war, climatic destruction, personal struggles, merely a representation of both the Qliphoth and the original order from chaos? Should we be rethinking how we look at the pain and suffering being witnessed and experienced by many? If we were to allow, then by the very nature of existence we would eventually fall into equilibrium. Have we been programmed to resist flow, notably in the West? The West has pushed away from flow with the advancement of technology. An example of this being if rain stopped, we have the technology to make it rain, thus provide water. Whereas in Eastern traditions, if they had no water, they would simply accept their fate. Are we being shown how to allow, rather than trying to control every aspect of our lives, i.e., things being taken out of our control? Is the control what causes the suffering? When we look at the Kabbalah tree of life, it is not a straight path. To grasp for control only serves to dictate a straight road. The desire for control comes from a place of uncertainty, but the control is merely an illusion, for there will always be forces beyond ourselves that dictate a change of direction. As I write this, I think about governments and their desire to control, their use of fear. Their control is merely an illusion. Could it be that the ever-tightening grip for control on humanity is becoming from a place of fear? Fear of knowing they don't have control, and the awakening of the people will reveal this. After all, the age of Aquarius is about freedom. To control, to tighten one's grip, to hold on to something that isn't part of our path is resisting the currents that would carry us to places beyond our imagination. If, however, we didn't try and control things, how could we make things happen? And if we are forcing things to happen, is it truly for us in the first place? I listened to a young YouTuber the other day stating how we didn't belong here and who decides this fate. Why can he not go out and do what he really wants to do? Why should he have to work? He was a very angry young man, but his anger, one could say, is justified. Or one could say he's an entitled youngster who doesn't understand life. I ask the question, are the ones being born into this age more awake than we are, the older generation, who are just partially becoming more aware of our perceived enslaved existence? I use the word perceived as with all things, it's one's own perception. Were his disgruntled moanings entitlement, or is he a highly developed soul that understands deep down we do not belong here? If we don't belong here, then why are we here? Of course, ancient philosophers have discussed many times over the soul trap versus the school as to why we are actually here. If we are here to experience, then why have we made the game one of suffering? Is the suffering purely a state of mind? In order to change one's existence, we must change it in the metaphysical, not here in the physical. But if it's all a state of mind, why is it so real and sometimes so very hard? I think, therefore I am, springs to mind. So one can think they are not poor, when in actual fact they are poor. So how does thinking they are not change their situation? If we all manifested everything we desired, there would be no yin and yang, which ultimately creates equilibrium in the universe. We were not all born here to experience happiness or extreme wealth. Of course, the counter to this argument is to always have a negative mindset, will surely to continue to bring you negative results. But this is where the balance comes in. For if we are always positive, known as toxic positivity, we are merely spiritually bypassing. But to be always negative, we are not improving or growing. The negative, one could say, is there to teach us, but we must let it go at some point. But I still haven't answered the question. If we are here to experience, then why is it one of suffering? A question that I may never be able to answer. But if we are here to experience, then why is it one of suffering? Maybe the answer is we're here to learn how not to suffer.
I need purpose to make it all worth it. I'm still searching and I'm still learning. I want a life that's filled with memories, not a life with regret in front of me. I need focus to keep me from hopeless psychosis if I keep moping.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough. Nothing's really clear, sometimes it could be a little tough. I just need to feel like the end's in sight for me, but let's be really real, anxiety can foggy all this stuff. I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough. a little tough. I just need to feel like the end's in sight for me. But let's be really real, anxiety can foggy all this stuff.